Singer and pianist Hazel Scott broke the mold of what a black woman could achieve in America in the 1930s and 40s. She was in concert halls and magazines, and she graced the silver screen. And in 1950, she became the first black television host. But standing up against injustice put her career in jeopardy.
If you don't conform, if you fight the establishment, you're not very popular with it. And everything is done to remove you from public memory.
Hello there. I'm Hazel Scott.
By the time Hazel Scott landed on television, she had been a skilled and in-demand performer since she was a child. She started playing the piano at the young age of 3, learning from her bandleader mother.
I started playing in public immediately, all little concerts and things. Then when I was 8, she took me to Juilliard.
The Scott household was a gathering place for popular jazz artists of the day. 2 of those regular visitors were piano masters Fats Waller and Art Tatum, who took Hazel under their wing. By 19, her mentor, singer Billie Holiday, insisted she take over her headlining slot at famed integrated New York jazz venue, Cafe Society.
She said, hire Hazel Scott. And so the owner said, who's Hazel Scott? She said, don't ask questions, just hire her.
When Hazel played, she combined the technical skills from classical music with a flair for syncopation, embellishment, and a little stride piano from jazz. She dazzled audiences and made a name for herself swinging the classics. Her dexterity on the keys, as well as her vocal and arranging abilities, are showcased throughout her album catalog. Particularly on her most celebrated album, 1955's Relaxed Piano Moods, with bassist Charles Mingus and drummer Max Roach. Hazel also attracted Hollywood's attention. She appeared in several films, making as much as $4,000 a week, equivalent to roughly $70,000 a week in 2024. She refused to portray stereotypical or demeaning roles, instead appearing as herself.
What do you want to see?
I'm Hazel Scott. We're here for the audition.
Oh, Miss Scott, yes.
And in July 1950, Hazel Scott became the first black person to host her own TV show, laying the groundwork for black TV hosts who came after her. The Hazel Scott Show featured her in performance, to positive reviews. Her star status was even further bolstered by her marriage to activist and pastor Adam Clayton Powell Jr., the first black congressman from New York State. While Hazel Scott's career flourished in every arena, it clashed with her activism. She refused to play for segregated audiences. If a venue didn't have an integrated audience, she would walk out and there was no show. Hazel was barred from performing at Constitution Hall by the Daughters of the American Revolution, the same organization that barred renowned singer Marian Anderson from singing at the venue. On the set of the 1943 film The Heat's On, she objected to stained costumes intended for her fellow black actresses.
And they had them in dirty Hoover aprons. And I said, oh no, you're not going to shoot with me in that. No. I went on strike and the cameras were idle for 3 days. Harry Cohn, the head of Columbia, said, you'll never make another picture as long as I live. But life being what it is, I suppose I had to pay for my beliefs.
Cohen's threat proved true, and her career in Hollywood came to a halt. Shortly after her TV show was launched, she was caught in the Red Scare. She was accused of holding communist sympathies alongside artists like composer Leonard Bernstein and singer and actress Lena Horne, despite years of performing for American troops. Hazel voluntarily appeared before the House Un-American Activities Committee to clear her name and warn against the, quote, vicious slanders of little and petty men. Instead of a loyal troop of patriotic, energetic citizens ready to give their all for America, you will demoralize them and end up with a dejected, wronged group whose creative value has been destroyed. A week after testifying in September 1950, the Hazel Scott Show was canceled. Many of the opportunities that were previously available to her disappeared. She eventually left the United States to find receptive audiences overseas. When Hazel returned to the U.S. after a decade away, the music scene had changed. Jazz was no longer the popular music of the day. R&B and rock now ruled the airwaves. Given her earlier accomplishments, it's reasonable to wonder, what more could Hazel Scott have achieved if she hadn't been punished for standing up for her beliefs?
Oh, how I long to be the gal I used to be.
When she reflected on her career in 1978, Hazel said, "I've been brash all my life, and it's gotten me into a lot of trouble. But at the same time, speaking out has sustained me and given meaning to my life." Decades after her death in 1981, Hazel is now being recognized for her activism and for her accomplishments as a musician.
I am gratified that young musicians are now discovering her and being influenced by her music, and that there is a renewed interest in Hazel Scott's life and career.
In 2020, the Library of Congress became the home for Hazel's papers and personal memorabilia, giving visitors the opportunity to learn more about her contributions to history. And arts organizations like Washington Performing Arts and Dance Theater of Harlem have spearheaded celebrations of her life and work. For Hazel, as significant as her activism was, it's music for which she wanted to be remembered.
Waiting for you back in your own backyard. You'll see your castle in Spain looking at you through your window.